Vernon workshop for Monday at 5:30, June 5th, 2023 to order. Candace and Heather.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. We ask that you guide the council in making the right decisions in all that they do and the best thing for the community. Keep us all safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 1, rec contract review.
I don't know that you actually have a copy of it, so I'm going to hand it to you. Just before it's signed, they have to review it. So, there you go.
And all of these will have to be voted on the next meeting.
So if anybody has any changes, it can be done prior to that, and then y'all could vote. So. Come on in. I apologize for not having these things to y'all Friday. Just didn't have them.
Is there anything in here that you want to point out special?
No, this is the same format that we've used in the past with the rec directors, the contracted rec directors. I guess the only thing would be to look at the exhibit and make sure that there's not anything else specific that you want or expect from the rec director. That's still schedule 1 is the list.
Probably the last page.
Page 10 and 11.
10 and 11.
I don't have 10 or 11.
Really? Nikki, does yours?
Mine does.
Want to look at it real quick?
I'm sorry.
I think it was stapled.
I think number 23 pretty much covers
Mine
it.
was stapled.
Okay.
It was stapled.
I guess the only thing I have is God, that you probably haven't had a chance to look at all this yet. When you do, do you have anything you want to say about it? Does anybody else see anything they want to add or remove?
purchasing expenses, is it now 500 or is it still the 1,000?
Yeah,
It's 1,000.
Okay.
It changed, that's right.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
And then, one more thing.
Okay, I'll fix that.
Where it says organizing concessions will be sold at all games and practices. Do I have to have the concession at all practices? Cause sometimes there's only one team practicing and it's not very, so I just wanted
It's kind
to.
of their discretion to make sure that it's beneficial to open it, if not beneficial.
Cause like some practices, like tomorrow, we have a scrimmage game against Weewalt. So I opened it for that and then I will open it for that. And then last week we had a little T-ball, like in-house little tournament thing. And of course I opened it for that. But like if normally there's only one team or two teams out there, we haven't been opening it. Cause normally they just drop the kids off. And now I did let people get drinks and stuff like that, but I didn't cook anything. So.
I don't have a problem with it being under your discretion as long as there's not any complaints about it. I mean, generally, you know, if you've got 2 or 3 practices going on with parents and all that, they're usually more open.
Right, yes,
For
ma'am.
drinks and stuff, but.
Yeah, I don't say like cook, hamburgers and hot dogs for practices,
Yeah.
but, if they want snacks and a drink for 3 or 4 practices going on.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't mind opening it, like,
Then like one person
but-
can handle it.
Just wanted to make sure. Well, that's all.
Does anybody else see anything, have anything?
What time is that Weewalt game?
I know.
Can I call you one?
And we'll just put it on the agenda.
Confirming it tomorrow.
Okay.
Candace, to be,
Okay, thanks.
put it on the agenda to be voted on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Ms. Goffin, do you have anything else on it?
And-
Okay, well, we've got it on the next, regular meeting agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 2, the waste management contract review.
Is there anything really different on this one than what they've been doing?
Not that I can know.
You don't have any issues with it?
No, the only thing that, I saw that may have to be changed at some point in the next 5 years is that this is an exclusive contract, and I was pretty sure that there was a bill this year about cities not being able to award exclusive contracts. But
So does that need to be changed in this one?
no. That was just kind of a heads up that was something that might come up in the future.
I guess really the only thing on here is making sure that, they're providing the same service to the city as they were before.
There's no heat in the office. I think the air in the office, so I don't really know over here. Sit out in the
Did you compare the rates and your existing rates?
On what this is, ma'am, no, but it is, I mean, it's more on all of the rate.
These rates are higher than what we're charging.
to do, I guess, at a meeting, we'll have to change the sewer rates for everybody because July 31st, these new rates will come into effect.
That happened around the same time that it was kind of, I guess the contract is, I mean, we voted on the contract saying that this is what we accepted, so.
I think the garbage rates are on a different ordinance. Yeah.
Are they, I was gonna ask, I
Yeah.
thought they were, so it's separate from the water.
Right.
And you'll have it, I think if I read it right, if you remember right, do you have an ordinance that says that you're gonna annually do it anyway, or you just haven't, this council hasn't been raising any rates, but you have an ordinance that says you will. So,
And now, Michelle, will this have to be done by ordinance, or is it just something we vote on?
The franchise agreement is just something that you vote on. That was just kind of a heads up that if you don't amend your ordinance
That's
where
what
you
I'm saying.
set your rates, you're gonna be paying more to waste management than.
That's what I'm saying, does that part of it, that has to be done by an amendment, or?
Yeah, we'll have to do a new ordinance.
Does anybody have anything on this? Joey, Miss Mary? No, ma'am.
I don't,
Who's on the agenda, please, Candace? Number 3, the no sick days gym contract review.
keep in mind that the rates in there are just for this year, and then y'all are supposed to come up with a rate prior to January that y'all can agree on or whatever. But this is just so he has a contract in place, cause right now he's working without one.
And we need to do that before January 1st. Or have it ready by January 1st.
So y'all just need to talk about it, and then
Yeah,
I'll
we've got-
communicate with him, and,
Well, his water is on.
yeah, he's paying his water now.
The lights are the issue.
Yes, but he does not have any air or anything in there, he's just got his equipment and lights. So, I mean, he's not paying for it yet though, because we don't have power hooked up there.
have we looked into doing that?
I've contacted a couple of people, I've gotten one bid that came in, I'm waiting on some more, so we can have some kind of comparison.
Figure out what the rental amount's gonna be. Michelle, you don't have any issues with this, do you?
No, I had to, craft it a little bit different, as far as the term and the rent, but I went ahead and left my usual rent provisions in, just so that we could fill in the blank later, so you would see how that payment would be made once you actually establish what the payment's gonna be. Other than that, it's pretty standard commercial lease.
Yeah, we've just got to figure out something on the power. So as soon as we can figure out something on the power, then I guess we can set a discussion for a workshop on rent.
I would probably just talk about that during your budget.
You think?
But y'all can sign this one so that y'all actually have a contract in place, yeah.
Candace, will you make a note at budget time for that?
For the budget, yeah.
Does anybody have anything they want to change or add or remove on this? No, ma'am.
It's nothing that you need to address in this agreement, but I would have a conversation with the property appraiser about what the property taxes will be estimated at
contract,
So the,
or not this initial one?
right, it is in the,
Is there anything in here about
paragraph
him
3.
hooking his own power up though?
He is responsible for his own utilities.
But there's no way that if that goes on for the next 8 months to turn it off either though, right? The way everything's set up right now.
We can't separate the power the way it is. Even Florida Power and Lights came out and looked, they don't know what's running what. They have no idea.
That's encouraging.
Because you would think that could get drawn out just as long as it possibly could, because I'm sure that's not cheap.
Not, well, for the city, I think it's gonna cost several $1,000s to get power out there for him. That's just my, because of the other quote that we had. So I'm thinking it's gonna be 5,000 or more.
So right now, the city's paying for everything.
Right now, the city's paying for the power. And he's only using lights and whatever the equipment runs off of 110s, cause there is not much power going to that building. Cause I did talk to the person that hooked the power up to make it work.
So it's treadmill, stuff like that, that's it?
Yeah,
But it's open 24 hours.
it is.
Yeah, there's people out there all night.
No, it is a very active, I mean, there's people here all day.
Yeah.
And all of them.
Yeah, it is a very active facility.
And at this point, we can't even determine what portion of it is being used.
People have access to the gym too whenever they come out here.
They're not supposed to.
But we don't know that for sure.
Well, when I've checked it, it's been locked. You know, when I had the call and the kids were in the lunchroom part convenience center.
Question for our rec director. Have the keys all been turned back over to you
Yes.
for like the gym?
I don't have an actual key to the glass door that are right there on the gym, but I do have a key that goes to the locks that's on the back doors. And I don't know if
I
Tim
don't
ever
know.
actually
There
had a
were
key
keys
to that.
those glass doors going in.
So, in fact, there's a key in there, but I don't know which one it is, cause I did have to go in there one time. I can try to figure out which one it is, but Tim's got that key,
Okay.
So you
cause he was working on it and he
Give
was
that back to me
opening
when you
it.
can.
Cause I tried them, we had to have a practice inside, and I at first didn't have a key to any of the doors, but then he gave me the key to the master lock, cause it goes to all of the things, so I have that one, but I don't have a key, none of my keys in the big thing worked on that.
Let's do it this way. Better than you having to do it. Candace, will you contact Timothy and tell him to turn in all of the keys
Mhm.
except for what he has for his building he's using? That way, we'll know they're back and then she can have what she needs.
I think I have, I have a big wad of keys, and everything that I've tried to get into, as far as like sports flex wise and stuff like that, I've found a key for, but I don't have a key to the glass.
So we're gonna either have to, we're gonna have to pay to have that power separated.
Or include it in the rent.
Or include, and we're gonna include in the rent, and we're gonna have to have some way of determining about what's being used.
Is there a way that you can go year in and year out since, and look back at the power bills and see what the power increase has been since they started running that gym?
So,
No.
no, because, and I say this, I have a spreadsheet of every bill that we get, but it's under A and B. Florida Power and Lights doesn't know which one's A and which one's B. I obviously don't.
But still, I wonder though if you can put A and B together, and since the time that the gym's been active and kinda look kinda like on a trend and see.
I mean, it stayed the same for the past several months, it's been pretty close, but they were also having basketball in there and working on it every day for a year.
Yeah.
So it's kinda hard to know. It went up about $400, I think maybe November, December, but I don't have any idea if that was because they were having basketball games, if it went up, and, I mean, if it was the community center, we have no idea.
Basketball started in December and went through like February. And we were there pretty much every night for practice.
Yeah, but he was there working on it too
Right,
for
that's what I'm
months
saying.
prior to that, yeah. So, I'll look, but I don't know if I'm really gonna be able to tell you an honest answer on that.
So, Florida Power and Light have come out here and they can't tell what goes
Right,
to
they
what.
met out here with Travis and, Gerald a few months ago, trying to decide. And they never could tell me which one was A or B.
Don't those meters have numbers on them? Isn't that number correlate with your bill? And then you would know this
It
meter
should,
runs
but
this,
but all the buildings are wired together, so we don't know what's wired to what.
But I mean, they were asking about the meters. If we've got 2 meters, then you should be able to determine which meter. In other words, if you shut that meter off, you're gonna determine what is running. So if you took, if you said Florida Power and Light, come out here, I want you to disconnect that meter, it's gonna tell you right then, 10 minutes, you're gonna know what all is running.
Well, I
You're
would
gonna
thought
go-
they would have done that when they came out. but
Yes, ma'am.
obviously they didn't.
Yeah, cause like switching breakers off.
But like Candace said, that that meter may run part of this building, may run part of that building. But if you shut that block off, it's gonna tell you, all right, it runs this room, it runs that room, it runs that. You would have a better idea of what he's spending. And that may be the only way to do it, is to actually have them out here and shut it off and schedule it.
And we know that that particular, gym is connected to the basketball gym power, but we don't know community center or anything like that, so.
Well, there's gotta be a way to figure that out, like you said, I mean, it's.
I'm certain, I'm not trying to speak bad about any company, but I'm sure it can be figured out.
Yeah.
You just gotta get somebody with them that's willing to come out here and figure it out.
Well, but down there, see, he's not running that much. I mean, it's not horrible, at least.
They're really running a gym out there without air conditioning?
We got those big fans.
I don't know how much they'll be running in July, but
I don't know how many treadmills they've
I
got
don't know
out
how many
there.
people's gonna be out there when it's 90 degrees out there working out in the gym. without
I'm
air
sure there's big fans, but
They're all,
Those big lows.
What if
back
somebody
fans.
falls out in there? Cause it's 100 degrees, what happens then?
he has liability insurance, is all I know.
But are they still on the city's property? Would
He's
the
supposed
city be responsible by any means on that?
Well, we're always gonna be sued, but he's supposed to have the city as an additional insurer.
And he does, we have
His
that.
coverage, so his insurance covers himself and the city.
Maybe we need to push fast for him to get on his own power, where he can run air conditioner for the people out there.
And really, that's on me, trying to get somebody that'll do the power.
And somebody will do it, I'm sure.
the power company should be able to come out here and determine what's what. I mean, it's their meters.
They're gonna have to come sooner or later to tell us, what we got to do out there. This is the work we're looking at. We got a guy out there, more or less using the city. The city, the council let him away with this one over there. He
Council
reconstructed,
didn't know about it for a little bit too.
he reconstructed the building, city property, and he's paying nothing for it. He ain't paid a penny for it yet. And all the equipment was donated. Right or wrong? Right. He's running a business on city property, that as of right now, the city's paying the power bill, he's paying the water. You correct me if I'm wrong, Candace, and he's getting rent from the city until January for free.
Correct.
We don't know what the power bill runs on that bill, and exactly, we don't know what he's doing out there. I don't, because I don't go out there. I ain't
Well,
got
and there
no idea.
wasn't, the water, he was, whatever water was being used up until the time we had the employees go through the meter, which had been on there. He was up and running before that.
But I know, you know,
He's paying his water, sewer, garbage, and, I'll reach out again tomorrow for electricians, and I'll call Florida Power and Lights and see if they'll meet with me and not the, cause I'm annoying and I'll annoy them enough till we figure it out, but
Couldn't you
they
just-
met with an electrician out there.
Couldn't you
They
just
met with-
establish an arbitrary figure until you just, like $200, you need to give us $200 a month until we figure it out? Because you can't just sit out there and run electricity without.
But I'll have something for y'all by the meeting.
Right.
There's still a lot to talk about.
It's almost like that thing out there with the well where they couldn't figure out what that line was from AT&T.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have anything on this? Maybe we will have, can get some answers between now and next meeting. And we know why this was drawn up this way, because there was some discussion at some point about the work that he'd done on it and all that. You know, the issue I had with it was it was open and running before council knew anything about it. I mean, here, you know, somebody may know out and about, but as far as anything being brought to us, that was the issue that I had. But that's water under the bridge now. We just need to deal with the situation we've got. And one way or the other, he's gonna have to pay for power, and we're gonna have to set up. I mean, if he argued the point, okay, I've renovated the building, well, okay, you did that on free power, you did that on free water, and you were getting paid, you were open for business, and all that was free. I mean,
I'm like you know, the city's gonna have to separate sooner or later. You know, if he, you know, say, hey, you know, what's the bottom line? If he leaves, we still got the building, we rent the building out eventually, but it needs to
Still
be.
needs it,
he's
still needs it.
Yeah, we still got to get it separated. But right now, we can't tell what's being, spent.
There ain't no business anywhere that doesn't have their own power that they paid for and their own water that they paid for.
I know.
And started a business. I don't care where it is or who did it. I mean, nobody, you know, gets to live off of somebody else. It's just bottom line.
We need to get it separated. Sooner the better.
so does anybody else have anything to say about it tonight? We'll move on. Number 4, Amnesty Day.
Can I set amnesty days for August? Is that fine? Cause if we're getting them free 3 times a year, we need to utilize them.
They're
Right?
giving them 3 times?
3 times a year,
Yeah,
so we need to utilize it. If that's fine, I'll set them for August.
That's fine with me.
Okay. The rest of you agreeable?
Yeah.
Alright, number 5, noise ordinance.
We don't have one, right? We don't really have a noise ordinance.
Not that I know of.
Okay. There's a resident lives in the city limits near the creek, that is renting out tents, rooms in their house, whatever, but they're kinda wanting it to be and kayaks and things like that. They have called requesting, wanting to know what the noise ordinance is. I didn't know if we had one. I told them I'd have to find out, but I knew that, I thought the county or the state was either 10 or 11 o'clock. And then he wanted to know if he could get special permits to have events till whatever time he wanted an event till. But then we have residences that are neighbors to the person,
About 150 feet away from his house.
and he's playing music all night and running the business. One, can we, if we don't have a noise ordinance, because Michelle's here now, we can ask her what we technically do about that. I know the sheriff's department can come out, but it's constant. And then, can he have a business in town without it's a residentially zoned. And it's being on the creek and on the water, there is probably conservation, yeah. So, those are the questions the citizens have.
I thought I thought it was 10 o'clock.
I thought.
Well, do you know what the
thought we had
state
a noise
rule?
ordinance called the oyster bar. Vehicle open oyster bar down
Well, we couldn't
It's
find one, I couldn't
limits.
find one. Did you have one?
there. I thought, if I'm not wrong,
But him being on the creek like he is, it bounces off that water. It bounces all over that neighborhood. You can hear it just as though you were sitting right there.
I mean, literally, you could sing along with it laying on my bed at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, we get up at 3:30 in the morning. I've lived there for almost 30, I've lived there for almost 30 years. And Rick Gainey, I don't know, Lazy Bone, he said he can hear it from his house. I mean, it's horrible. And he has no respect for anybody in the neighborhood.
And it's awful music.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be different if it was at least good music.
Yeah.
But,
Or just weekends or something, I don't know.
The canoe rental hall, doesn't that go through, doesn't the county have some sort of say in that? I know that we
So
don't
basically, I
necessarily
guess
do
he's
that,
doing
sell
short-term
business
rentals and
So-
kayaking.
so first of all,
Is
let me
it-
get this right, okay? We got an individual,
City, yes.
residential house, renting out rooms.
Either room, I hadn't been there.
he's got, the name of his thing is Stay in Place on Facebook is where he's renting it out, and he's got rooms for rent, he's offered campsites, so, and he's talking about he's wanting to do live event, venue down there for music. Yeah, I mean, he's in the middle of a neighborhood.
And where are the bathrooms here?
You think the health department would have to have a business license, where's all this come into play?
Because I know that when Coach Todd was gonna sell it, he was talking about the septic tank, he had dug it back 30 years ago, and there was an ordinance now about putting septic tanks on that part of the water, so how's he doing that?
Well, see, he get porta potties probably, and get away with that.
Right, okay, all right.
He rent porta potties, and that's excluding septic tanks and all, but the thing is, I think the county'd have to step in. I know it's inside the city limits, but same as Gaines. I think the county had to step in and on the canoe dealers. I'm pretty sure, there's certain, I'm with y'all, it's in the middle of that, right in,
Yeah, I mean, you know where it is Coach Todd's old place.
oh yeah.
But now, if he's renting, doesn't that turn it into a commercial?
And it's different if you're just renting out a house to one single person, but if you're renting out to multiple people, now you're turning into like a hotel.
Bed taxes.
Yeah, there's, you get into, and then opening up campsites, there's no law against you renting your house out, an individual like it is, but when you start multiplying, you know as well as I do, when you set up your house for so many bedrooms, well, if you go in there and start adding bedrooms, that changes everything.
I don't think that we have anything, I thought that there was an ordinance as well, 10, I may be going off something that the county's got. But
I
thought
don't
there
have
was
any
one.
record of y'all having it in Norrisburg. So that doesn't mean that there's not something obscure.
There was something about a piece that might be disturbing the peace.
Well, that's what the officer told me. He said, if you're disrupting peace, and that was kind of the wordage he used, was disrupting the peace, and that's what he does. It's one thing to have a radio just playing, but when it's literally you can fill it through your house next door, it's a little ridiculous.
So the issue that you're gonna have, even if you had something on the books right now, the issue that you have, with enforcement on the county side is that, the courts are gonna require you to have a measurement, like it
I know it's meter.
just having it, that it can't be loud, or it can't be, you know, thin away, stuff like that.
I'll buy the
gotta
meter.
have-
I'll pay for it.
You gotta set decibel levels that then have to be tested, like law enforcement will need decibel meters in order to test the sound, to see whether or not the sound exceeds those levels. The other problem is that you don't have code enforcement, so you don't have any mechanism for, putting a stop to what sounds like a commercial use in residential property.
Well, and not only that, we don't have anything otherwise on the books about it. All we do is sell a business license, and everybody generally goes through the county with all of those other things when they're set up,
Right.
those type businesses. And
I don't think there's a short-term rental thing in our county either. I think
I'm not aware of it.
it's not been outlawed in our county. I know that people have called about that before.
All right, well, what can we do about it then?
Yes, do we need?
Call the sheriff's department every time, or,
Yeah,
About the noise, you can certainly try. I don't know that
So what about this, him doing these live concerts, where that goes through y'all, the permitting or whatever, right? The city?
again, that's gonna be code enforcement, and y'all have code enforcement.
So the residents are just crap out of luck.
there's gotta be something, I mean,
Yeah.
I know maybe the city can't do anything, but there should be something that keeps people from 1 o'clock in the morning having an event in a neighborhood, in the
this-
county. And
this-
can we not go through the county for, I know that we went to a meeting and that we talked about the county, but since the city's not gonna have their own code, maybe, even if it is nothing but sending them to the magistrate and getting a lien filed, maybe that's better than nothing?
And we negotiated interlocals for code enforcement years ago, but the city didn't have the money to fund the county services.
and when Candace and I went to the last meeting, that the county was having such issues with their own code enforcement and the expense and everything of all of that, they were having major issues. Matter of fact, I believe 2 back-to-back left. At one point, they didn't have a code enforcement officer.
Well, Chipley
But
does, Chipley, I was
they're
talking to a
separate.
Chipley code, this,
Tamara's on one,
yeah, I was talking to her the other day.
and we have our own magistrate. We have a totally separate process.
What would classify that property as commercial? I mean, if he's renting all that stuff, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so that's why I'm asking. I mean, if it's a residential home
it's a residential.
and he's renting rooms and renting cabins and, you know, canoes and all that, doesn't that classify it as a commercial business then?
Only through his
There are
office.
certainly allegations of commercial activities taking place on residentially zoned property.
But would that
on
go through the
his,
county planning and zoning?
So that would be, again, that would be a code enforcement issue. Like, ordinarily, you would send your code enforcement officer out there to immediately shut down whatever they're doing until they get properly permitted. If they don't get permitted, then they go before the magistrate.
he's got in his website party huts to come in. So he's gonna build all these party huts. He's building all out through the swamp, out through there, these huts and stuff.
So you might
So-
be able to get the county to step in because they're the ones that would be issuing, you know.
What about building
order.
department, because the building department would have to issue a permit for him to
Well,
build.
that's what, when I talked to code enforcement, they basically, I mean, it feels like nobody's wanting to get their hands in this, is what it feels like. And you got a neighborhood that's eating the brunt of this, and one guy's running over, he's done the same thing at Chipley, the property he inherited in Chipley, he's running all over the neighbors there. Because he runs right up to the edge of the law. He runs right to the edge every time.
So, but some of that stuff that's being talked about, and I was approached by somebody else in the neighborhood who's also been to a meeting before about the same stuff a year or 2 back. When it was in the process, there was talk of sewer, like huge sewer and water lines being hauled in there. And at that time, I thought that planning
What about DEP?
Well, I mean, I don't know, where do you go?
If he's building a cabin out there, doesn't he have to have a permit? He's supposed to go through the county for that.
For building, yes. If he's on the water, that may be something that EP's interested in.
If he's cutting down cypress trees, they'll give him.
So we got planning and zoning, right? That's one thing in Chimley? Planning and zoning's together, right? Or not?
And,
Yeah.
And then we got the building department,
yeah.
But
I
the
mean,
county handles most of the permits.
right? I'm just thinking, he's gotta be zoned, if he's gotta be zoned commercial and he's gotta have a building permit.
Well, not only that, but I mean,
And
electricity wise, he has to have a permit for that, for his county as well.
Should.
unless, I mean, if they're camping out,
Well, he's got AC units in the cabins that he's promoting. that he's
he does
advertising.
have AC units.
But it could be running off of a generator.
Well, that's where, I mean, I'm thinking if you open up a business and you're bringing people on, there's certain criteria you have to meet to be able to allow people to come into that business, correct? I mean,
I would think.
safety stuff,
Another thing that you may be able to lean on is like water management or EPA, because if he is damaging the swamp area or the water's edge, then that's creating problems down the road.
Because he had an excavator sitting down in the swamp for probably a month,
So then,
building a mini X down there.
then the state would need to be involved in that. And all it takes, I can tell you, all it takes is one person to call water management and they're gonna go in and check it.
I mean, I hate to be that guy, but like I said, he's basically making it miserable to live there, and I've lived there almost 30 years.
This particular property owns city water and sewer.
City water. I know it's city water, but I know that Coach Todd showed me the septic.
He's not on city sewer for sure. He'd have to have a lift station in there at low. Cause I looked at it and then they told me I was gonna have to put a lift station in if I
Stay
connected to
in
city
play
sewer.
with Cypress. Is that what it's called?
That's it.
Oh, I didn't cut it. Me.
He's listed on Airbnb, tents, camp on the Cypress.
I'm sorry.
Can we say we want one and vote on that?
I think that's cool. Yeah, we can make ordinances. That's not the issue, it's getting them to enforce them.
Well,
That's what I was saying. I thought that, and we don't have a code enforcement officer, but I thought countywide, no, I thought the city had one, but I know countywide that there is. And because the sheriff's department was called out for it all the time.
I know, but if you start calling sheriffs every night, that'll get old for them real quick.
The week before last, they were out there 6 times.
For noise.
Yeah. And last Monday, the sheriff lodged at my house. He got there at the guy's house. He got there at about 10:15, and he left my house at 2:48. He was out there that long, trying to turn it down.
Ms. Candace, you got on there, building department? Okay. Because of what I'm seeing, that Marie just showed me, that's definitely building department.
Yeah, I would would think that our building inspector would have something to say about that.
Okay, but if you're doing all the work and you're not going and getting permits, nobody knows what you're doing out there, so.
The only time that gets found is when the property appraiser goes around, or if somebody reports it.
That's the reason why she said contact them, because if they don't know about it. But there are processes that you have to go through, that you're supposed to go through with certain permits and stuff.
Well, then when you start letting people come stay and you're charging a fee, that throws into a completely different category. You know, like she said, you got bed taxes, where's.
Or even
all
just
that-
sales tax.
Sales tax, where's all, I mean, we don't even know if you've got a business license at this point. And not to mention, we've already, discussed it, it's a residential area. It's one thing if you're running a business out of your garage and you're doing something and shipping something out versus droves of people coming through.
I understand what you're saying, yes, sir, I understand. I think we're all just trying to figure out what's the best route to, quick fix maybe.
Well, I'm gonna point out to you that this guy's a constitutionalist, and so he does not answer to the government.
Oh, wonderful.
So he doesn't think he needs building permits.
Right, basically, that's what he says,
Got it.
I think he's been arrested by two of the other neighbors. I think SWAT was called out there because he wouldn't get out of his truck. So it's been and everywhere he goes, this is what goes down.
I know he has a property someplace else, and one of the residents up there told me that he took his excavator and just scraped the road and made his driveway off their road.
Is this the same place that it was brought before us, that the gate was put up and the
Yes.
meter was on the inside, the same property? It's the
Same piece, same man.
Same piece of property.
And that road has been open forever, and he blocked it, but now that he's
Well-
using it, he's opened part of it, but not all of it.
The one going, I wouldn't even know how to get in there through the pavement, but the one that I was told the way he was going was the dirt road out by
Right.
Ward's Propane.
Right.
It's Pam's property, and I always thought that was her driveway. I never knew there was anything back there, and I've been here 35 years. And until she came to a meeting, I didn't. Now, I've been back through there on the pavement, but never.
You never went to Yankeetown?
Oh, I lived over there at one point. What I'm telling you, I didn't realize that driveway that she come complaining to us about, that was coming off the highway, I thought that was the driveway. to
Yeah,
her
it's a
home.
road, and it's a horseshoe, it went all the way, came all the way around, and anybody that was resident back here, that was their road. Yeah.
As I always went the pavement way, so it's new to me, I don't know. Maybe I need to ride down through there and see this.
If the council wants me to reach out to zoning, building, DEP, all of that, I can.
You can reach out to the building inspector. We got a building inspector, he's strict. He's strict on us, so I know he's gonna be strict. If you got anything to do, he'll shut it down. Our building inspector.
Well, and the concern also.
If he has any pool. I don't know if he's got any pool, but David, I need to get your phone number. Cause I got pictures of the excavator. I hooked the excavator with my bait casting reel. So I know how close it went to the creek. I got pictures.
And I would think that
So,
DEP would.
I think what we're
that
gonna have to
would be
do, a bunch of people gonna have to pay on DEP. He's done a lot of study, took the excavator across the creek on that outlet. We just know no big
That's,
time.
DEP or EPA may be involved in that, because I know from past experience, just dealing with those years ago when the ditches, there was a contract for the ditches in Vernon to be cleaned. Just the little ditches that we have, the runoffs that we have. And you can't even weed down in the center of where the water flows of those. You can only do the side. So we're talking about the creek and heavy equipment, so, I mean, you can get fined for weed eating the middle of the ditches here in town. So,
I know a couple of people's called on him, and I've talked to Miss Mary about the situation. It's next to her house, but, he's dug up trees on the creek. I mean, I got pictures here on my phone from the water of the creek where the excavator sat for a month. in a slough down there. When I was bait casting and fishing, I took pictures of it. You just have to get the right person. I mean, you gonna have to pound DEP till they send somebody down and do something to it. The fine's big. I've heard people, I've talked to several people about that's got fined from DEP. I mean, it ain't likely. I mean, big time, $1,000 quick. They'll break you quick. And what he's done down there,
Well,
he should be at business. 'Cause
Yeah,
he
well,
dug trees up down the side of the creek. I mean, he built roads beside the creek. So I'm
basically,
talking
he
about
bullies the
within
neighbors.
6 or 8 feet of the water. And, right now, they ain't done nothing to it.
Yeah.
So, we need to get together, just, all I know to do is just keep several people just calling and pound until somebody comes and send somebody down here, you know? All we got to do is call the sheriff's department. What's he gonna do to us? I got pictures, on his property, it is the creek, so, with the excavator sitting there, so. That's all I know to do on that end. Now, as far as the building inspector and all, if he violated anything to do with the building department, he'll get him out, our building inspector.
Well, and the permitting too, if you didn't get the right
If
permit.
he ain't got the permit, he'll get him. He'll shut it down now.
Okay.
All right, does anybody else have anything on that? Candace, you're gonna reach out.
I got my list.
Okay, thank you. Number 6, Ms. Porteous.
I just wanted to know if I could get someone to come out and look and see about the AC over in that building, Ms. Owens' building. I mean, there's vents and everything, it's just either not connected or it's fried, or I'm willing to pay somebody to come and look, and then if they can present me a bill or something. How does that work? You know?
Candace.
In the food bank,
Yes.
so there's no,
I mean, it has to have had,
but
because
there's
it was,
no, there's no, thermostat or anything in there. And it's the old band room is what we had as the band room. Y'all remember? It was band room, it used to be band, well, it was band room 35 years ago, or 30 years ago. So,
and then it was the coaches, because that room upstairs was the coaches something or other.
yeah, he had it's underneath where the upstairs
Yeah.
was. You could go upstairs when it was raining.
It's just
Sometimes
fairly
we'd have
miserable,
clouds.
it's fairly miserable over there.
But there's not any air in that room at all.
So is there no vents or just no thermostat?
It looks like vents in the ceiling,
Yeah,
but there's nothing to connect it to anything. And it's the original old walls in there, so I don't know where the thermostat would have been.
and because the radiators are still there, I'm assuming that's how they heated it. But yeah, it's,
Don't we have somebody that we're using for our AC now?
Yeah, I can call somebody. But all I can tell in the floor in that room, there's grates. And so I don't know if that was their return air or if that was how they were actually heating and cooling the room. Because there's just some cutouts in there, in the floor. I know they were talking about getting just a portable unit in there until they could figure something out.
yeah, I started looking into it and everything, and I thought, well, instead of spending that money that way, if I could just find out, you know.
They should do a quote for free. There shouldn't be any
Yeah,
cost
that's
for
what
a
I'm saying, it
quote.
shouldn't cost.
Okay, all right.
The only thing is, that may be something that will be covered in the grant of the whole, because I think the AC systems are in there, and there's enough attic space to run, there's plenty of space to run ductwork. So it may, I'm just throwing out there that it may be, you might wanna do something temporary until that point. I wanna say those portable units are what, $300 or $400 for the roll around ones?
Those are the ones that have to be, you have to vent out. They do make those that the standalone things, I've seen them advertised, I just never paid any attention because I didn't need to, but yeah, I could look into it. I just thought because they had to have had AC in there because of all those vents up there, maybe it was just turned off someplace, like some of the plugs were turned off.
Or they might just connect into and run a duct in
Yes.
there, cause there's plenty of space up there to move around.
Yes.
If they could come off a main trunk line and run a
Yeah.
duct in there.
Just anything.
I'll call tomorrow and see while I'm calling.
I was gonna say, I
I'm
appreciate
locking
while you're
myself
on the
in the
phone.
office tomorrow, I don't need to
You're
see
gonna be on the
anybody.
phone all day.
Why are you gonna be on that phone?
Okay.
Let's get her one of those little Bluetooth things in her ear. Okay, fire chief.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
We've got two quick things. Starting off, we'll start with the safety first quote. It's our cheapest quote to get our engine and ladders pump tested and get the ladders tested on it. Don't have to present you with a quote. I told you it would be coming up. It'll be coming on the 20th. That'll be $865 for everything. Unless they find like an issue or something, we'll have to address that.
And you can do 1,000,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I just wanted to present y'all with the quote. And then the packet is a quote from Easy Ice to get us an ice machine. It'd be through a lease. After doing research and talking to people, probably better do the leasing agreement with them, because once you pay that $5,000 for that ice machine, you gotta get it serviced, and once it tear up, then we gotta pay out-of-pocket expenses. But with this company, on this quote, the initial setup fee would be $415. That's to come in, set everything up, good to go. It's a bundle package, so it comes with the actual ice maker, and then it comes with the catch-all, carry-all bucket. If I say I wanna go bigger on the bucket, I can as part of this bundle package. If I wanna go smaller, I can go either way. It's $205 a month. Gotta come out once a month to service it, test it, make sure, it's not contaminated, everything's working. If anything malfunction on it is fixed, out of this price we pay, $205 a month. And we'll sign a 12-month contract saying, hey, we'll stay with you 12 months. And after that, the contract is just off, just keep paying $205. If it goes out of date or if they upgrade or something, it's just part of it. I figure we need one because hurricane season coming wasn't started. We ain't got nothing over there. Like I said, we got a generator, so we need one if the power goes down or something from a hurricane or something like that. Ice machine's still gonna run, but a lot of citizens come up, get ice, keep their stuff good as well. It's not just gonna be at the fire department.
Pretty much on, when we turn in the quarterly reports, they have dues and subscriptions and tanker and all of those things. So basically, you're gonna get it back.
Right. That's all I got so far.
And you went with this model because this is the one that you needed, or was it the best price, or just?
It was just
bigger size?
best all over, bigger size, best bundle package. I mean, you can do smaller, but it's gonna be like what we got in the station right now, 2 scoops and pretty much done. Can't fill up the cooler with it.
We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, though. Anybody else have anything for the fire chief?
one question. We had to order, or we need to order new football helmets for the upcoming season. And the quote that we got was $2,799.95 for 20 helmets. They need 70% down, which comes out to $1960. And I was just wondering if I could go ahead and do that, and I'll bring the quote to the paper. I gotta go to the school and print it off. But if we don't order them within the next week, they won't be here in time for our season. Cause some of our helmets are out of date and they're just beyond repair.
So you have to order them this week?
Yes,
Generally, we have to vote on that. If it's anything over.
So we're gonna, yeah, vote on
I'm sorry. Could I just call them and see if they could do 1,000 down?
Well,
Possibly.
your spending limit is 1,000, but the only issue is, I mean, I don't have a problem if they need, if helmets are needed, but the problem is this is a workshop and we have to vote on them.
Okay,
Now,
sorry.
no, it's just that our meeting isn't until,
Next Monday, right?
not next Monday, the 19th.
Okay. I'll call Rydell and see what we can do.
I'm gonna say this, y'all don't get mad at me, well, you can get mad at me, but I'm gonna say it. Y'all haven't had anybody ask for like 5 years about ordering $10,000-$12,000 worth of stuff, and then you have to pay it in the end. So could she order it and then y'all vote and decide if you're going to write your check or not?
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
I can call them
Y'all
and
had
see if we
thousands
can
of
break
dollars
it
worth
up.
of equipment ordered since I've been here.
I mean, like I said, the only
3,000-4,000 at the time.
to make sure that the kids have what they need.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, I know we did the same thing with the uniforms being ordered and not knowing how much it was gonna be.
Y'all haven't paid that yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we didn't even know
That
anything
was-
about that.
And we didn't even have an idea that that was in.
That was just done without
And I
being reported.
just got this like 2 days ago because we had to do the whole, we're working on our inventory. Yeah. I'm trying. I can call and see if we can break it up in like different sizes and stuff, and if they'll let me, I'll call right away.
So, we're all in agreement that if it was on our next meeting agenda, we would vote to have her do it.
Do you all think?
Joy? Okay.
Well, Candace brings up a really good point, and I know.
I mean, I'm just
We always have to
saying.
vote on it, but if it has to be done,
And I'm
just
sorry.
do it, and then we're all in agreement, we just have to be in a meeting to approve it. I don't know any other way to handle it, if they've got to have it before.
Okay.
Cause they won't have another meeting for a couple of weeks, with a voting meeting.
And I can, like I said, I can call Rydell and, talk with them and see if we can negotiate it a different way too. That's what they told me there first.
Yours is a time issue though,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that's it, right?
I've got one thing I want to ask. Could the city of Vernon get a sticker on their side by side?
Well, yes, we're gonna get a
Because I think
sticker
we called,
on
by
something.
accident, we called law, all we see was on the cameras, this guy come riding into the property on the side by side, there's nothing saying it was the city of Vernon.
Yeah,
I
Jason
told,
and I were talking about it.
I told Jason the other day, I was like, just get something to where at least if I see it come through, it's cool, you know, it's just not some random guy riding through. So, like I said, if it just had some kind of medallion or something on the side of it, so if I see it on the camera, I know it's all right.
Yeah, I'll see about ordering something. I don't know if a magnetic or a sticker. But anyway, we'll get something.
All right, if nobody else has anything, can I have a motion to adjourn?
No, I got some. In the future, y'all still wanna dedicate the, trees out front, right? So, we need to get Candace to check on some plaques, some type of things that'll last. I don't know if y'all noticed, two of the trees, but they were
Yeah.
moving out. But, you know, it ain't got to be in the next month, but, you know, we we need,
We need to get it done.
we need to dedicate them trees. And the second of all, y'all be thinking, about the cemetery issue. I'm gonna bring it back up in the future before I leave. We need to do something about the cemetery. You know, we have to step on some feet. You know, I know we've seen a certified letter, attorney did.
I've spoken to
He
him.
won't respond, but, you know,
I spoke with him, it's been a while back, and invited him to come to a workshop. He was not interested in that because of the media, and he didn't want the publicity, so I asked him to reach out to Michelle Jordan. Michelle, did he ever contact you?
No.
He said that he would do that and give his opinion, talk to her about it, but like I said, he hasn't, so I don't know.
you know, I hate it, you know, yeah, it's a city property. You know, the cemetery, and it needs to be fixed. You know, it looks bad, it's been going on about 3 years now, so, you know, I don't know what to do to it, you know. The way I look at it, the city's done, you know, we've been over backwards, the way I look at it. You know, we've got prices twice on that fence and all. His equipment's sitting on city property, you know. Like I told you before, easy to be in a lawsuit, you know. And dumpsters and all, containers is on city property. So, you know, we ain't got to work on it right now, I know it takes money. I don't know if we,
I thought there was money designated in the budget for that fence.
yeah, it was at one time, it was, but I know chain links went up. Anyway,
I don't have to look at the budget, I don't know right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know
if it's in there or not.
it was there, I don't know, at one point it was, because we've been talking about this, I know, for the last 2 years.
yeah. Other than that, that's all I have. I do know, I will tell y'all probably seen it, the trailer, they cleaned the trailer up. Turned the ball seal, go toward the school, the trailer on the right, that's always been there 20 years, it's gone. So they did clean it up, somebody did.
Does anybody else have anything? Can I make a motion to adjourn? Can I get a second?
My second.
Discussion, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.